Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am thinking about how to rate this book. I think I'm going to go 4 stars, and it's called Captive by Iris Johansen. Now, it is book number 29 in the Eve Duncan series. So, have I read all the books in the series up until now? Definitely. Have I read any, what do you call, not sequels, but other stories that I can't think of the word. Other related series. Yes, I've read all of those too. But I'm a little hesitant to rate this book because, in as much as it was a great story, full of intrigue, suspense, and danger, and all that, it really was. Eve Duncan and Joe and Michael, their son, they were way over there. Can I point my finger? They were way over there. But yet it's Eve Duncan number 29. So that kind of okay. But let's talk about the story itself. The story itself was about Jane McGuire. Who is Jane McGuire? Now, this is where continuity plays a big role in the books that you read. Jane McGuire was about 10 years old when Eve met her. And when Eve met Jane, they had a bond. That bond led to years later, Eve and Joe becoming Jane's parents. They took care of Jane, and although Jane didn't live with them full time, she was in all reality their daughter now. She's their daughter. This whole book, Captive, is about Jane. Like I said, we get maybe 2 lines from Joe, 0, pretty much maybe 1 line from Eve, and nothing at all about Michael other than the mention of his name. So barring all of that, when I want to read about Eve and Joe, I'm now reading about Jane. But that's okay because I've read about Jane many times in previous books. So, 2 minutes and 40 seconds to tell you that this book is all about Jane. It's not a bad book. I have a cat. It's not a bad book. In fact, it's a good story. Because here, Jane McGuire, oh goodness, my cat. Jane McGuire, at this point in her life, is very involved with Seth Caleb, okay? But she's also very involved with her art. And then we're reminded about Seth Caleb. Now, in a lot of these books by Iris Johansen, there's an edge of paranormal. Yes, there is an edge of that. We see it with Michael, we've seen it with Joe, and we definitely see it with Seth Caleb and the unique abilities he has, which help him to work as an agent with the MI6 intelligence service. That's what Caleb does. Now, Seth Caleb, however you want to say his name, something happens in his job where he crosses a crime lord named Hugh Bowden. And by doing so, he incurs Bowden's wrath. This places Jane in danger. Okay? Now, Jane is currently working on her art at a Scottish retreat, and she's with Earl John Macduff. And I'm telling you, this is when the story kind of grabbed me back in. Okay, I forgive you, Iris Johansen, for not writing about Eve and Joe, but that's okay because I see Seth Caleb. Yes, I've read about him before. I see John Macduff. Oh, yes, I remember Macduff. I see the Scottish retreat or the Scottish escape. Oh, yes, I've been there before in the pages of this book. And then you have the fact that it's a mystery or mystery/thriller. Well, what happens? our character Jane, who is our chief protagonist in this book, finds herself on the run. Okay? Now, she's on the run because Boden, who's a crime lord, is doing anything he can to get to Seth Caleb. And since Seth Caleb is Jane's man, then Boden focuses his energies on Jane in order to bring Seth Caleb out into the open to slay him. Now, what I like about this book is Jane's love. Jane's incredibly unselfish love bled through the pages of this book, pushed through the pages of this book, and touched me. Me, who was skeptical to read a book that wasn't about our characters Eve and Joe, even though it's called Eve Duncan number 29. But I want to do something different in this review, and I've done it before. But I'm going to go to fantastic fiction, okay? And I'll tell you why in 1 second. Well, quickly, it comes up. In this Irish Johansen series for Eve Duncan, we have some sub-series. We have Catherine Ling, and we have Kendra Michaels. We even have one, Logan Tanner. I've read all of those books. So part of me wonders, why didn't Jane get her own series? But it's okay that she didn't, because she gets her own story in this book. Now, one of the things is Jane realizes something about herself, and this is, how can I put this? Remember I said that the book has a kind of like a paranormal aspect to it? When Eve is a forensic sculptor, and she brings closure to families that have lost a family member, most notably children. And when she sculpts a skull and turns it into a face, she's able to bring closure to people who have lost their family members. Jane has a bit of Eve in her because she draws a picture. And when she draws this picture or paints this picture, it is utterly real, and it plays into this story. It does really well. And daggone it, if I don't feel now that I want to bring this book up from 4 stars to 5 just by talking to you in this video, yeah, I have to let my love of Eve and Joe go long enough to focus on Jane, Seth, McDuff, that picture, and Jane running for her life and why she's running for her life and all the danger that's associated with it. Really, really good book. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Hopefully you'll read it. Do you have time to read the first 28 books if you haven't read them? Make the time. Read the Catherine Ling series. Read the other series that I mentioned. And Kendra Michaels. All you got to do is start at book 1. And then 2. And then you'll be caught just as I was. So I want to thank you for watching. Bye-bye.